Montana is full of rich history, but also includes its share of heartache. Tonight, MTN's Russ Reisinger makes a stop at one historic place in Carbon County, the site of the worst coal mining disaster ever in Montana.
Just off Highway 308 in Carbon County, between Red Lodge and Bear Creek, you'll come across this ghostly site. The buildings, still standing against time and the elements, are what's left of the Smith Mine. It looked much different in February of 1943, with the nation at war and coal in high demand.
The coal mining in this valley had really ramped up because of the war. Coal to feed the smelters to make iron for the war machine, basically.
Jeff McNish has written several books on the Smith Mine disaster, the worst coal mining tragedy in Montana history.
My grandfather, who lost his father, obviously, in the disaster, did not talk a lot about it. So I wandered into the Carbon County Historical Society Museum and started researching, and pretty quickly I discovered that I wasn't just related to my great-grandfather, who was a victim of the disaster, but 10 other members who were victims of the disaster, and also one of the 3 survivors.
77 men were working deep underground inside slope number 3 of the Smith Mine on that cold February morning when disaster struck. Only 3 made it out alive.
You know, about the best that any of them could come up with was a scenario where there was a small methane explosion that then kicked coal dust up into the air. Once those take off, they run at about 200 miles an hour, and they just go till they either eat up all the fuel or eat up all the oxygen and leave behind poisonous gas.
Knowing their fate was sealed, some of the miners scrawled messages telling their loved ones goodbye. At a hillside cemetery in the nearby town of Bear Creek, a memorial to the 74 miners and the one rescuer who also died in the tragedy, many of them immigrants who had recently come to America.
You know, it really decimated the community. You think about it, that's 75 households, but that was still a lot of kids left fatherless, a lot of women left as widows. Even if you didn't lose somebody there, you most certainly lost somebody you knew. Right. Probably a lot of somebody's.
Other miners from all around the state and from Wyoming came to help with the rescue effort, but it would take 7 days just to reach the first body.
The furthest miner from the entrance who was killed in the disaster was 2 miles from the entrance, so it was enormous under there. You know, my grandfather was one of the rescuers that worked the 9 days to bring everybody out. He found his father's body, and we don't know how many other relatives, but I'm guessing a good chunk, and obviously friends.
The disaster that happened here way back in 1943 led to changes in mine safety, and it also marked the beginning of the end for underground coal mining in Montana.
I think probably the main thing that it helped push over the edge was things like stopping using open flame lamps underground.
Slope number 3 never reopened after the disaster, and the rest of the facility shut down about 10 years later as the demand for coal dwindled. And even though there's not much left here now, it still has special meaning for Jeff McNish.
To me, I don't know that I can get a more tangible place to actually say I'm walking in the footsteps of my ancestors.
In Bear Creek, Montana, I'm Russ Reisinger reporting for MTN News.
Near